Hey, welcome to our new City Catechism series. Over the last few weeks we have mentioned the word sin quite a bit. This week we are going to find out what sin actually is. Question 16. What is sin? Can you remember when sin first entered the world in the Garden of Eden? There was two people involved, Adam and Eve, and sin came into the world when they rejected and ignored God's commandment to them. Well, what is sin? Our answer is sin is rejecting and ignoring God in the world he created and not doing or being what he requires of us. Sin is rejecting and ignoring God and not listening to what he wants us to do. It's when we decide to do things for ourselves and we think that we know a better way, when actually God does. A way that I remember what sin is when we think about sin like this. It's when we think, shove off God, I'm in charge, and no to King Jesus. Sin, shove off God, I'm in charge, no to King Jesus. What is sin? Sin is rejecting or ignoring God in the world he created, not being or doing what he requires in his law. Since Adam and Eve, all people have sin in their hearts. We all sin and will never be able to fully keep God's law, like we looked at last week. We can break God's law, we can sin by things that we do or that we say or that we think. So it might look like us ignoring our mum and dad when they ask us to tidy all our toys away. Or it might be when we think really mean things about our brother or sister. Both of these things are examples of how we can sin. When we sin, it affects our relationship with God. God is deeply saddened when we sin. When we ignore him as the creator of our whole world. God hates it. He hates sin. But last week we talked about God being holy. God is so holy and perfect, and we will never be like that. God won't accept anyone that isn't holy. What is sin? Sin is rejecting or ignoring God in the world he created, not being or doing what he requires in his law. By not always doing what God asks us to do, by failing to live up to his standards, we realise that we need a rescuer, like we said last week. And we are separated by God, from God, because of our sin, and it destroys that relationship we have with him. But there is hope. We are broken in our relationship, but there is hope to come. We have hope in Jesus. Keep tuning in to find out more. But this week, what is sin? Sin is rejecting or ignoring God in the world he created, not being or doing what he requires in his law. Keep tuning in to find out more.